Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. SEC and its policies rely on whatever Gary thinks. Bitcoin to flight to quality. I heard that from Larry Fink. Every hour losing purchasing power on foolish out there. It's not our fault. Blame the coal. It's the political cowards when it comes to gas. Our purchasing power just got cut in half. I sit back and laugh, open my bag, fill it with stacks and sats. Bitcoin, pumping, altcoins, pumping. I've been prepared for this. Can't tell me nothing.
And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a flight to quality. We're hearing from clients around the world.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pumping. I've been prepared for this.
And I believe crypto will play that type of role.
Once institutions start to realize they can purchase Bitcoin for $0, this is going to create the... Sorry about that. Had that set from last week. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing well. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to Monday. Got some new BitLab hats. Hope you like these. I'm going to be rocking these at the Bitcoin conference. But we had some major movement in price action on Bitcoin and a lot of the alts over the weekend. We saw a huge move to the upside, a washout back down to the downside, and then sitting right now back above $105,000, looking like it wants to take that swing to the upside. And what is the reason for this? Because we are seeing some major things going on in the crypto ecosystem. A lot of news back and forth regarding China, news with Besant coming out yesterday, speaking very positively, and also potential, or at least a potential hype around. Is there going to be Fed printing? What does that even mean? Is it all just a game of jockeying news headlines back and forth to get people hyped up? We got to talk about it because we want to make sure we're positioning ourselves on data, not just on hype. And in fact, when we're looking at everything in the market, we got a lot of things lining up for some major bullishness. So we got to take a look at that. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you're all doing wonderfully. My name's Kellam. Shout out to our channel partners, Bitcoin IRA, L Bank, and Arculus. GetArculus.com. Make sure you protect your crypto so you can protect your future. Now let's dive into what we want to talk about today. We got Kevin Svensson and Matthew Hyland coming on here in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that. But we're seeing a lot of movement around on the charts today. We're seeing all this green over since yesterday, but on the hourly chart, we're seeing a pretty big bounce coming into the market. But what is this? Is this just another trap after trap after trap? Because it feels like the market is just trying its best to shake our confidence, whether you're a bull or whether you're a bear. So when we see this and we look at the Bitcoin price, I mean, I did a post about this the other day, this sort of move of just, you know, the heartbeat, the rhythm up, trapping people long, trapping people short, coming back to equilibrium. We got to be a little bit more cautious about what we're doing here because we're seeing the push up into take this liquidity. Cool, captured it. Now let's come down, capture this liquidity. Cool, captured it. Now we're back right to the middle line here. It's almost as if price has done nothing except for trap people in their emotions. Are you getting trapped? I hope you're not, because we are looking at data, and that's what this is all about. So what are we really looking at today? Because this is a headline we're seeing all over. News, breaking news. Fed says central banks stand ready to provide liquidity. Bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. This is definitely bullish, very bullish. But I think this is more bullish on the headline than the truth of the fact that they're actually going to start printing anytime in the next couple weeks, unless something major happens in something to the effect of Jerome Powell actually getting removed from being the Federal Reserve chair. That's the question. And apparently there's been some movement on the legal framework there with courts making decisions, putting out rulings that President Trump does have the capacity and the ability to potentially remove him. Will we see something like that? Because the truth is, Chairman Powell is in a very tight position right now, very rock and a hard place set up. And that is the fact that we are seeing inflation coming down, but we're also seeing tariffs get instituted, which could lead in the near future to actually inflation ticking back up. At the same time, we're feeling like things are breaking, but we're seeing massive pumps in what we're seeing in the bond market, which is also begs the question, can you really cut if you're also seeing bonds rise while inflation? So there's kind of no answer to what's happening right now. Everybody's wanting Fed print now. I don't think it's going to happen anytime in the very near future, but I do think it is an absolute inevitability about it, the fact of fiat always needing to be printed. However, we have a massive amount of Fed cuts that need to come in terms of interest rates before we actually see Fed printing. Now, the question is, are they doing other mechanisms? Are they using other strategies and tools to bring the economy back in line? Like we're seeing the Fed buying all these, from the Treasury buying all of these the bonds. Essentially, the bond market is not having their auctions fulfilled. So the Fed is stepping in to buy. Now, if they're not able to buy, or if they run out of money to buy, then you start having this very, very precarious situation in the monetary system here in the US, which would matriculate over into the rest of the world. So let's go ahead and look at some of these other things before Kevin Svensson and Matthew Hyland pop in, because this is very bullish on a hype and speculative nature, but I do think we need to be a little bit more patient. Will we even get a Fed rate cut in June? It's seeming like it's less and less likely, but are there going to be political pressures at play that essentially force the Fed's hand to make them cut? We'll have to see. That stands to be seen yet. We need to be patient here, because look at this. I even said the big print is coming, as per Josh Mandel. He's been in the markets for over 30 years. Basically doing everything from market making, understanding what's going on here. And he's suggesting that the big print is coming. But you have to realize, when you see headlines like this, it doesn't mean this week. It doesn't mean tomorrow. In fact, it probably doesn't even mean in the next 3 to 6 months. But what happens in markets is people price in ahead. They try to see what's coming and get in position or get out of position before those things happen. So while this is something that will come in sometime in the near future, whether it's 3 months or 13 months, people are going to position themselves because it will represent itself in the charts as a major boom in price action. And people are going to try and front run that by getting involved before these things happen. So will they print? Yes. Are they printing sometime in the immediate near future? Very unlikely. We need to realize that. But these headlines are going to stir the sentiment around what people are thinking is going to happen so they can be in or out of position. So it is inevitable to prevent debt default. But while it's terrible, remember, all of us that are positioned, especially in the right assets, will ride a major boom. And this is what everybody's going to be doing in the market. Again, whether or not the print happens this year or not, people are going to be positioning themselves to capture that, because we've seen massive upticks in money printing in the last 15 years, especially in the last 7. So what's going to happen this time? Are they going to need to print more than they have in this last print? I don't know. We have to stay positioned according to what our strategy is in this market. So let's pay attention to this, but not be hyperbolic about it happening in an immediate sort of time frame. The other thing is, what tools are they using? It's not just money printing. QE kind of has a whole convoluted sense of what it is these days, because they're using all these different ways to move money around on the books. And okay, we're going to buy from this, Treasury general account to, take pressure off the markets over here. We're going to stop quantitative tightening. We're going to be secretly buying bonds. And there's so many different things going on right now. We need to pay attention that the data isn't so clear as everybody wants to believe that it is. They're doing a lot of things right now to really soften the impact of what's happening in the markets. Now, beyond that, in Bitcoin, what's happening? Well, Bitcoin spot net volume delta on top of exchanges turns positive, AKA we're seeing the buy pressure outweigh the sell pressure. After the recent market correction, buying activity is picking up and selling pressure has dropped significantly. This is what we'd like to see, but we want to see a continuation in this, not just some, get that little blip of a pump on the upside and then only to be a bull trap to reverse to the downside. Because we've seen this in the past, much like right here. Pretty nice little move to the upside. We got it, flipped positive delta here, but then the market only corrected to the downside, bear trap, one more bear trap before launch. So we'd like to see something more like this, the flippening with the bullish pressure outweighing the selling pressure. And we'd like to see a large impact of continuation here of more and more buy pressure coming in. We've got to stay tuned here because we're kind of in this period where some people were wondering, is it a sell in May and walk away for the summer? Or is this about to get super spicy in this market? Because the data right now is suggesting we could be setting up for a massive price boom. But the question is, how long can the market remain irrational? The answer is longer than most people can stay solvent. So the better move right now is to find dip buying opportunities and not trading every single step you can take unless you've got a strategy in place that works. Now, going on, we see a pretty broad range of different wallet types also stacking. We saw over here these mid-large to very large, 100 Bitcoin all the way up to 10,000, which is these two bands right here. Actually, we're stacking in all the way back here before, as this price was moving up. So the big players were accumulating. That's what the deeper blue is. And the red is not, basically it's distribution. So what we're seeing here is a broad range of wallet addresses from over 10,000 Bitcoin, 1 to 10,000, 100 to 1,000, and 10 to 100, all stacking. And a little bit of the retail is also getting in here too with a little bit of that blue. So we're seeing the market sentiment as well as the buying pressure from the buying delta over on Coinbase. We're seeing buying pressure come in not only in the activity on wallets and a broad range of wallets, but also in what we're seeing just on chain. So the setup is here, but it doesn't mean it has to follow through and have a massive, just only upway move when we're looking right now. We do see the global liquidity has been ticking up majorly. The US liquidity has not quite done so too much as it relates in the last couple of weeks, but we're seeing this front running of the global liquidity ticking up and Bitcoin tracking that to the upside. And we're right on pace right now with exactly where we should be based on what's happening with global liquidity. But I got to take it back here real quick. How's everybody doing? How was your weekend? Did you buy? Did you sell? Did you sit on your hands? Did you go and spend some time with friends or family or watch a movie? Did you relax? Because things are, I really do believe, about to get really spicy in these markets. So let's make sure that we have some life balance. Let's make sure we're not just completely burnt out on what we're doing. I hope I can always be a positive impact in your day and bring you data, but also remind you this is about so much more than just dollars on a screen or Bitcoin or portfolios we're taking screenshots of. Let's remember why we're doing this so we can impact our wider, broader life in a positive way, because I'm feeling good. I hope you're all feeling good as well. And by the way, drop a comment here, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on X, on Rumble, wherever you're watching. Are you coming to Bitcoin Vegas? Are you coming to the conference? Because we will be flying out there. We'll be out there next week. Our whole HIT network, Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, BitLab Academy. We will all be there, and I hope I can meet up with some of you guys. Now, let's look at some of this other data because we got some more stuff. Bullishness is coming in, guys. The others chart showing what's going on with the altcoins is looking very much like a midterm, mid-macro reversal pattern with this falling channel that we had this rounding bottom here, breaking out of this channel, coming down, retesting this, forming 1, 2, 3. Now this is 1, 2 higher lows, now into a third higher low that is a falling channel, right on support, coming right back, testing the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders, showing many different signs, many different ingredients that there very well may be a very strong bullish reversal in play on the others chart, which is everything outside of the top 10. This is incredibly bullish for alts if these areas hold. Now, if this does break down and come back down into here, I'm not going to lose my mind. But if this drops into here and we break below this low, that's when I start to get a little bit more concerned on a bullish narrative in the near future. As it stands right now, this is looking very bullish, like a reversal in play that wants to take that next move to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at. Wispy, how you doing? Andy D, King Peasant, One House Productions, Londano, I think that's how you say it. Granny's Garden, how's everybody doing? Hope you're all feeling well. We got about 1,300 people in the room. Shout out to each and every one of you. Now let's look at some more data. What else we got? Look at this, just taking out the liquidity. As I mentioned before, liquidity up, take it out. Wash out back down, take out that liquidity. Now move back up, take out this liquidity. Now come down. This is literally doing everything it can to move Bitcoin into the hands of stronger players that have a longer term vision. And it's not just retail. It's not just Michael Saylor. It's so many different players are getting active in this market now that have a much stronger, resilient, proven strategy in markets. Everything from BlackRock to Fidelity to Jane Street, Metaplanet, GameStop, the list is innumerable at this point and only getting larger, especially with governments on the horizon, which are already more likely than not a number. I would guess somewhere between 6 to 10. There's roughly 6 to 10 governments globally that are out there already stacking. I would make that bet, and I think they're going to be doing it long before they let us know that they're actually have already been stacking. So let's make sure we keep our wits about us. Now, continuing on, what else we got? Bitcoin is entering the spicy zone. Grab your milk. Get that milk mustache, because this is the highest weekly close ever and looking like a very bullish parabolic setup, which bounced perfectly. And we're looking at taking out this next high. And this high, this 109, 110 high, so many different analysts out here, including myself, have looked at this as essentially a gateway to the next major leg to the upside. I believe once we break past 110, it's not just going to be 110, 164,000, but I do believe we'll break out of 110, have some sort of excitement, short squeeze that pumps it really quickly up, maybe 115, 118, 120, and then a pretty sharp move back down to retest that area at 110, 111. We have to pay attention to that, because that's when people are going to say, that was the top, it's over, only to slingshot and continue up much higher. I do believe we're going to go well beyond 120 this cycle. In fact, I think 164 will be only a stopping point on a way to much higher prices. And that's because of so many major players that are just now getting actively involved in stacking Bitcoin in their corporate reserves, personal reserves, government reserves. This is only the setup for higher. So let's stay tuned. Now, legacy. Trusted financial talking heads and institutions have stolen up to $107 million per person out there that's been following them. Why? And I'm talking about Larry Fink, JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, Financial Times, the publication, Dave Ramsey, that financial know-it-all who just flipped his position on Bitcoin, mind you, Peter Schiff, Elizabeth Warren, and many, many others. If you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin, every time financial experts declared it dead, you would have $107 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, this isn't just DCAing on Mondays. Every time Bitcoin was declared dead in these publications and out of the mouths of these people, you would have $107 million every time they said Bitcoin's dead. So we are in a new paradigm, and it's understandable. Some people have some apprehension or just outright ignorance around what's going on with Bitcoin. But at this point, it's actually, I would argue, a bit of malfeasance. If you look at the data with what Bitcoin is, what it does, what it serves beyond just a financial asset, strengthening power grids, providing a efficient, transparent store of value. I mean, banking the unbanked. Guys, scarce. Like, it is malfeasance at this point if you're just out there shit talking Bitcoin because you choose to be ignorant over opening the Bitcoin standard for even 45 minutes and skimming through it, or searching what is Bitcoin. Is it good? Is it bad? I mean, the most basic search would show you the unquestionable nature that Bitcoin holds on the world global financial stage. Now, beyond that, what else we see? Bitcoin Super Bull season loading. And I do think the stock strength is about to explode higher as well. We're about to see green candles like you have never believed or even thought of in your life because of what's on the horizon with this new administration, whether you like them or not, all the different trade deals that are in process right now, especially with what's happening with China and India, what we're seeing with all this foreign investment that Trump and Trump administration just locked down in the trillions of dollars. Are we having a little bit of a hiccup in the market right now, or did we? Yeah. But it's a setup for higher. And I think we all need to look at the data rather than just being scared, out there, not understanding what's going on. Furthermore, when you come over here and you look at not just this others chart, but when you scroll down and realize the U.S. just got downgraded because Trump is an idiot, everybody. The U.S. just got downgraded because Trump is an idiot. Well, here you go. Here's the last time these charts showed that the U.S. was downgraded on their credit rating. And what do you notice? Golly, that looks like up and to the right. Holy moly. I should have gotten out here because, no, but look at that. You would have been a jackass. Yet again, late to the party with this downgrade. And then what do we see? Higher. And then yet again, what do we see? Higher. And now we just got another one. So we just need to pay attention to that, not to follow all the FUD that is out there. You got Michael Saylor now having a lawsuit. At the same time, they actually bought another $700 million plus worth of Bitcoin. Australia's got court rulings going on right now that may define Bitcoin as a money, which would exempt them from capital gains taxes. This is, only 2 or 3 hours ago that this news broke out. And we also see Ethereum is not dead, guys. Ethereum, I think, is going to have one of the most upsetting booms here in the very near future, especially what we're seeing following this Pectra upgrade. Also, a little bit of change up in the leadership. Guys, I just think we need to stay stacked. I think we need to find our opportunities. If you do see dips in the market of any sort right now, I think you need to look at those as screaming opportunities. But with that being said, we got our boy in the house, Mr. Kevin Svensson. How you doing, my brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm
interesting news
super
today,
excited
right?
about Bitcoin Vegas.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But yeah, the news is it's very interesting because there's a lot of like mixed signals, but then there's also this underlying what seems like a bullish narrative stacking at the same time. I'm noticing Japan's economy not doing all too well, and also China struggling a little bit, and the U.S. also in its own way. But there's also all these bullish fundamental updates, especially for Bitcoin, that just sort of kind of create that balance, and it's almost balanced towards the bullish side. So, yeah, do I got to share my screen here real quick? Probably.
Yes, sir. Let's look at that magic. Everybody, as you roll in here, we got Kevin Spenson in the house. Matthew might be rolling out of bed here and hopping with us in a second. Remember, Mondays are your best shot because this is when we have the most people watching. If you go out there, hit that retweet, show some love here. If we get 40 retweets before tomorrow's show, we will do a giveaway, $100 value. So just go show some love. We got 1,500 people tuned in on YouTube. Probably get 10 or 15,000 on Rumble. And we got, I guess about 1,700 between YouTube and Facebook right now. But with that being said, let's look at your charts, my boy, because you got the magic.
Yes.
Let me pull that up right there.
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about how you were saying the Moody's downgrade, right? So oftentimes, I'm not sure what screen you're showing. It might not be the right one, but I think is that your
my
screen?
bad.
No, but I was just going to say that the Moody's downgrade usually what happens, and I was talking about this in my Discord this morning in the voice chat. Some of our members are like older and they have decades of experience, and they were talking about how they remember the last couple times this happened. There was an initial reaction. It was 2011. The S&P dropped like 7% in one day after the downgrade, and then pretty much like a month later, fully recovered, going up again. And the same thing happens August 2023. There wasn't really all too much downside. Longer term, we just recover, right? And something else that I've been seeing in the social media today is the hash ribbon. The hash ribbon is also crossing down right now. Also, I forgot to retweet the stream. So a reminder to everyone out there that they should retweet this stream. Let me just do that real quick before we continue. Hold on one sec. Okay. So the hash ribbons cross down. I believe that's a confirmed cross down. Now, when I looked back at this, because people were bringing it up, I noticed that the hash ribbon cross downs were either a signal of like foreshadowing a major correction, or it signaled the bottom, or there was just some sort of continuation. Like in 2021, for instance, like other than COVID, which is always difficult to analyze COVID, the capitulation signal we had on the hash ribbon, Bitcoin hash ribbons, led to pretty much an immediate buy signal thereafter, no major pullback. The one that happens after that, we have a capitulation signal pretty soon after, a buy signal, no major pullback. And then you have these signals like up here when we do get capitulation and price moving down. Let me just make sure you guys can see the screen fully here. And then you go over to June 2022, capitulation signal. And we actually didn't get a buy signal after that. But that was more of a bottom until FTX, which then we got another capitulation signal, which signaled the bottom, followed by the buy signal. Same thing right here, 2023, minor capitulation signal followed by a buy signal. And then 2024 was one of the more, I guess, bearish signals where we kind of went sideways and down. But you can see like a lot of people have been putting a lot of weight on this signal. But when you go back and you do a back test, you'll notice that it's not always a signal of a pullback. In fact, many times it signals a dump. But the one consistent signal that you get, the most consistent signal is when it says buy, when it flips back to a buy signal, the hit rate on that being a bullish signal is extremely high, extremely high. And so now we're getting a capitulation signal right next to the all-time high. And I'm assuming this is probably going to end up being like a false signal. And very quickly, it's going to flip back into a buy signal. And then the strongest hit rate on the hash ribbon is that buy signal. It's very accurate. And I think we're going to get that really soon. We had a slight cross down. The hash ribbons are now flat once again. If we go up this week, it'll cross back up. We'll get the buy signal. And basically, that'll be a signal for continuation into new all-time highs. So that was something that was brought up today that I figured I'd address. Another one that was brought up in my Discord voice chat this morning was the, I think it was weekly Bollinger Bands. One of my members pointed out that we're starting to expand down the weekly Bollinger Bands. And oftentimes when you get that expansion, it's right before a major move in the market. And in this case, we're trending up to the top band, getting a slight expansion up. You can see that the upper band, the red line, is expanding more than the lower line, which signals or sort of points to the idea of upside, that we would see expansion up. And this stair step with this Bollinger Band pattern that we're in is very reminiscent of actually more so 2016 than anything else. Not that I think we're going to get this huge parabola after, but if you look at all the zones where these Bollinger Bands are in play, all those expansion points, nothing looks quite like this until you go all the way back to the 2016 zone where we're stair stepping, kind of like what we're doing right now, and then you get that expansion signal and the price continues to trend up. So I think the likelihood that we get a push above the all-time high and a trend into the new all-time high is quite high when you're looking at it this way. And on top of that, I've been talking a lot about this measured move, and Bitcoin has been playing out these measured moves to like absolute precision, where each time you get an impulse up and you measure that as the steepest part of your flagpole and you place that on the breakout zone, it leads you to a target that we've hit precisely on the first measured move. And then the second one, you measure the next flagpole up and then you put that on the breakout zone. And it was like literally the wick high target. It was met. And so if we just continue with this same logic, right? Apply the steepest part of this flagpole, put it on the breakout zone, it lands us at 115,000. Now, people are, of course, intimidated by that price, or they just simply can't believe that that's the price target because, well, that's 115,000. That seems like it's, like, whoa, big price. But we're just applying the same logic to the trend that we've been doing. And so far, it's worked out with absolute precision. Now, of course, as we're moving through the all-time high, there may be, increased volatility or resistance or something like that. But something else to remember about Bitcoin, if you go back in time, very rarely does Bitcoin actually get all-time high resistance. It's actually quite rare. There's usually some chop, a little bit of chop. It was actually only 2024 where we had the most all-time high resistance we've ever seen. If you go all the way back, you'll see new all-time highs, shoot straight through it. Here we just kind of, shoot straight through this zone. And if you go to the right, this all-time high, a little bit of chop, but generally straight through the all-time high. You go over to 2020, pretty much straight through the all-time high. A couple of weeks, a slight stoppage in play, but not really. Higher lows, breakthrough, right? It was really only until 2024 where we had this moment where we stopped at a new all-time high, went sideways. And so now Bitcoin is sitting at another all-time high again. And are we going to see stoppage in play? Are we going to dump? Well, usually, again, other than 2024, we're just going straight through the all-time high and not giving the market a second chance.
I love it. I love it.
Bitcoin rarely gives a second chance. That's sort of the
because
point.
we're also seeing, interestingly, even on the pullback. I mean, I outlined this on my almost said Facebook. I outlined this on my X yesterday. The move up and followed by the move down, just basically capturing liquidity traps in both directions, and it found support beautifully. Look at this, like on this perfect these range highs just projected out. Boom! This is exactly where we're finding support too, which is a beautiful bear trap because it loses this sort of trend line of these highs here, really convincing people, but it found nice, beautiful support right here, which is also still in this range, higher low, higher low, higher low, and right on this previous range, sort of spider line, trend line coming out right in here. But I'd love to see, we got Matthew Highland, looks like he rolled out of bed as well. How you doing, brother? How you feeling?
Oh man, I don't know. Sunday nights.
So what are you
Went
looking
out.
at?
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm waking up, man.
Nice and
JK.
prepared.
All right, so
All
I'll
right.
go to somebody else.
No.
Shitty for
All right.
fucking engagement,
All right.
bro. Come on,
No.
man.
All right. So for Bitcoin, the big thing to me at this point, and I think everyone really should just be paying attention to this going forward. I've been like bullish the past month or so off the lows. I thought we were going to continue up. Everyone kept calling for pullbacks. But the main thing now, at least to me, is the weekly RSI. And if you look at this, right, we just had the highest weekly candle close ever, but RSI well below. Now, this is not confirmed bearish divergence yet. So for Bitcoin to avoid this, it needs to make a push. And if I draw this out, I think it needs to make a push over the coming weeks, really, without any sort of pullback. Because at this point, if we get a weekly pullback, this will then have a divergence that's confirmed weekly bearish divergence. So the way to negate this, right, is for Bitcoin to make a higher high above this previous high, which would probably require, at least to me, I'm not sure, this is more of an estimate guess. I think Bitcoin needs to make a move up to probably 120 to 130K within the next few weeks without a pullback to then get the RSI up, make that higher high, negate any potential bearish divergences in the future. And if it does that, then there's no bearish divergences in play on the weekly time frame, because this one from back here, we already dealt with this one. This already played out. We had that huge dip earlier this year, right? So there would be no bearish divergences for Bitcoin if it made a higher high. So we're kind of like in this, I'd say, middle ground right now, where we have to be cautious, because if Bitcoin does have a pullback at any point without the RSI making a higher high in the weekly time frame, then it's confirmed weekly bearish divergence. But on the other hand, if it can push through here in the coming weeks, and I say in the coming weeks because it essentially is in the coming weeks, like it has to keep going up now. If it pulls back at all, then it has the divergence. But if it continues up and negates it, then it's good to go. And if I would say if it negates this bearish divergence, let's say it gets a higher high in the weekly RSI, then you're talking about prices much, much higher, probably 150, 175K, maybe 200K. Larger numbers come into play. But right now, it's been a nice move for Bitcoin, but it has to do, more work now. Like there's more things that need to be done. So I think like right here, currently, we just have to watch these weekly candle closes going forward now, pretty much. And
So you said something that I think all of us, everybody in markets has trouble with sometimes, and that's the word confirmation. What do you mean by confirmation, and how do you determine something's confirmed? Like if it's a bull div, a reversal pattern, like what are you looking for to say, okay, this move is confirmed?
So, okay, for example, I'm going to draw this out. Let's say, just for example, Bitcoin pulls back this week, closes at like 100K or something. Just for example, I'm still bullish here until this changes. But if that were to happen, and then the RSI also would pull back, that would be then confirmed bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, which typically leads to much further sell-offs afterwards. And we saw this in the previous cycle. We had this back here. We had bearish divergence. Where's my tool? This thing's so annoying. We had bearish divergence here on the weekly time frame. It was basically the same thing, similar. You go back to 2017, there was a lot of these as well, but there was some that Bitcoin ended up negating. I would have to like zoom in more. I think it was right here. So like right here, this would be pretty much the similar scenario that we currently are in right here. So it had bearish divergence, but the weekly RSI needed to make that higher high, and it was able to do that back here. If I measure this, Bitcoin was essentially in this area. This was actually April of 2017, May of 2017. So similar time frame, actually, 8 years ago, around this time, Bitcoin had a potential bearish divergence that could have formed back there, but the price just sent higher. So I think we need to move like this now. I think we need to make this move to 120, 130K within the coming weeks. It sounds crazy, but this is Bitcoin as well. It's been coiled up for a while. If it wants to do this, then it's time to do it. The stocks are pretty much at or close to all-time highs as well, so this should be giving Bitcoin a lot of confidence. We should see a lot of confidence here. If the S&P 500 breaks new all-time highs, which it's about, about not even like 2% away from now, I guess. Let me measure this. It's about, it's 2.5% away. So it could break all-time highs today or tomorrow. That's not a huge move at all. So if it does do that, then I would think Bitcoin's going to break higher, push higher, and then we'll have to just wait to see what it does. If it breaks higher, it's possible, right? It also breaks to, let's say, 120K, but it's unable to get the RSI up there to make the higher high, and then it ends up pulling back. So let's say it got to 120K, but it doesn't make the higher high, then pulls back. Then we have bearish divergence. It would be a triple bearish divergence. You'd have to then consider, everything as a whole. But if that were to happen, if Bitcoin does push to 100, 120, 130, I think a lot of the prices are going to be much higher across the board for a lot of altcoins. I'm like stuttering, but there's plenty of altcoins too that are breaking higher against Bitcoin currently. Not, some of the larger ones aren't. They've been kind of struggling, but there are plenty of altcoins that have been. So just, be decisive, be kind of picky, I guess. Pick the ones that are breaking out against Bitcoin. I've been doing that for like the past month or so. And, you're seeing a lot of upside with those ones that are doing that currently.
Absolutely. I know I got to re-highlight, Kevin, also your call on the bottom of ETH. I know we talked about it last week, but what looks like to have sort of formed the bottom on ETH, especially ETH and ETH to Bitcoin pairing. What's your update on what you're seeing on ETH?
Oh yeah, I mean, quite simply, let me just go to, or maybe I have to switch it over to this side. The Ethereum to Bitcoin pair. I mean, in terms of the update, not sure exactly what the update is, but the analysis that led me to this conclusion was just that the trajectory was unsustainable because parabolic trends are inherently unsustainable. That's in the definition of a parabolic trend. And Ethereum to Bitcoin was in an inverse parabola. And to maintain this trajectory, ETH to Bitcoin pair would have been at zero by May, June, if it maintained this trajectory. So we were getting to a point where it was almost impossible to maintain this trajectory. It was almost impossible, at least from the way that I was looking at it. Bitcoin being as high as it is and Ethereum being as low as it was, it became impossible. And I kind of just took an educated guess that this has got to be the low. We got to be somewhere near the low here. And it just ended up being right? It was an educated guess. What's happening here? It's a tough call to say like what the update is. We've found our low. I'm pretty sure of that. Ethereum to Bitcoin pair has found its low point. And you could be looking at this as a very long-term macro pattern where maybe Ethereum to Bitcoin pair would run up to like 0.4 at least, right? At least a 0.4. That's like the next target, I would say, for the Ethereum to Bitcoin pair. So what does that put? What would that put Ethereum at? I'm bad with the mental math here, but if the Ethereum to Bitcoin pair was like 0.4, does that put it at 4,000?
That's ChatGPT.
That would
it would be 4,000. It would be 4,000.
Yeah, so the next target is basically 4,000 for the macro resistance, and then from there, maybe we break out again. Maybe we go higher. Maybe we reach some of these horizontal levels to the left, previous support resistance. So I think that there's going to be a lot of expansion here for Ethereum in the coming months, going into the rest of the year. Bitcoin, the multiples are pretty heavy to pull off now, right? For Bitcoin to go up 20%, it's basically 120,000. For it to go 50%, has to go to 150,000. For Ethereum, those moves, we saw Ethereum up 50% last week. So from this point, because Bitcoin is so high and because dominance is so high and altcoins are so low, it's going to be easier to knock dominance down because it's so high, right? And there's so much upside for a lot of these alts. So, yeah, I think the update is that Ethereum to Bitcoin pair has found its low, and that was a historic horizontal low from 2019, and it's probably just going to continue up at least to 0.4, probably higher, but I'm just going to say at least to 0.4. That's the next target, right? And also, as the stock market, let's go back to Bitcoin here. Actually, I was going to mention something, and that is the weekly bearish divergence that Matt was just talking about. Yeah, we're coming up on that now, so it's like 72. But also, the S&P is currently on its weekly RSI downtrend line. So, if the S&P was going to find resistance, it might be right around here. And if we can avoid that, and we just continue to push through into new all-time highs, well, then we've sort of avoided or reclaimed this RSI down trend line for the S&P. So that would be great to see if we got that. And usually what happens when the stock market hits a new all-time high, I guess historically, the S&P has always hit a new all-time high before Bitcoin. That could change. Bitcoin's pretty close. It might do it first. But once the S&P does break the all-time high, that's usually when confidence begins to, peak, or confidence comes back. And when confidence comes back, investors might feel more comfortable that the S&P is at a new all-time high. Speculators are more comfortable, and so they start speculating on higher risk assets, right? So S&P at a new all-time high, in my book, makes it very likely that altcoins return as confidence is at a new high, right? Because that's really what it's all about. Markets are all about confidence. It is just a confidence game. And that's why Bitcoin correlates with the S&P, right? If you look at Bitcoin on the left and the S&P on the right, there's not that much of a difference here, guys. There was a little decoupling that happened for a day or a week or something, but I mean, ultimately, it's not that different. The direction is the same, not percentages. The direction of the market is generally the same on the weekly chart. But once the S&P is at a new all-time high, confidence comes back. And in the last cycle, when Bitcoin had its second all-time high break, it got above 20, hit 42, pulls back to 28, and then rips to a second new all-time high break. This is where altcoins shined, was on the second all-time high break, because that's when it was like real. That's when the all-time high became as real as possible. It wasn't just one new all-time high and the bears say, oh, this is the top, it's over, right? You get the second one and it's like, okay, game on, second all-time high break, we have momentum. And so that's what I'm thinking here is once the S&P is a new all-time high, confidence is up. Once Bitcoin hits a second all-time high, it's game on. There's a lot more confidence in the crypto market. And then you start to see altcoins shine once again. So we're getting to that point where confidence will likely increase, but depending on what the Fed does, it may be difficult for the S&P to sustain these new all-time highs. Again, really depends on what the Fed is doing. But I guess for until July or October, two time targets I have is July, and then the last time target I have is October, based on the halving cycle profit. So we'll see where the markets are during those time targets, when those time targets are reached. But I think we're about to get to a point where most things would perform well. Right now, of course, it's the market is really picky about what's performing well because there's been a lot of uncertainty, but confidence is coming back pretty soon. Today we got some good headlines. So
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, that's in line with the other chart that I posted this morning, just showing, this treachery here where everybody was just like crying in their altcoin portfolios, came down, formed a bottom, rounding bottom. Now we've got consecutive higher lows. We also not only have a higher low that just bounced here, but also in a bullish formation with the falling wedge. This is also the inverse head and shoulders. This is suggesting that we may start to see a pretty good move. And we're seeing a lot of different things right now Morpho, finding the bottom here on the middle of this channel, coming right back up. Constellation DAG still under this trend line from the downtrend, but nice movement to the upside. Chainlink also falling wedge, really strong bounce here. Ondo, strong bounce back inside this formation. Ethereum, nice movement here. But I'd love to throw it over to Matthew Highland. You said a lot of stuff's performing good against Bitcoin, but you could show the US dollar chart or Bitcoin charts. What charts have you been looking at in that regard in alts?
A lot of the memes actually have been the ones that have been breaking higher against Bitcoin over the past few weeks. So we'll just go right to the one that we been covering. I know you hold it too, Kelly. Is dog. Let me load up the chart. This is dog BTC. Oops, where did the RSI go all the way down? Reversing. It's been reversing against Bitcoin since early April. Bullish divergence, breaking through resistance. A lot of the meme pairs currently look like this, where they're breaking higher, breaking through major resistance. A lot of them just look like that. A lot of the other coins, there's a lot of coins that are struggling. I'll just pull up. Let me see another BTC pair, like Cardano, for example. Just closer to the range lows currently. Not breaking upward against Bitcoin. Has some work to do. I mean, most of the alts do have a lot of work to do, and it's probably just going to come down to Bitcoin dominance. Breaking lower. I think if Bitcoin dominance breaks lower, if it loses this 60 level, hold up, let me remove this. The last low was right here. So if it breaks below this 60 level, I think a lot of the alts will then start to move up against Bitcoin. We saw it move down, currently bouncing. It's really hard to say. It's in a huge uptrend, but if Ethereum starts to reverse, like Kevin was saying, if Ethereum starts going up against Bitcoin, then it would be hard for Bitcoin dominance not to just go down at that point, because Ethereum's the largest altcoin weighted against Bitcoin. So we'll have to watch Ethereum. We'll have to see if Ethereum starts to bounce more so against Bitcoin. If I go to the Ethereum BTC chart, the thing that would give me a lot more confidence that the bottom is in for ETH BTC would be for it to make a higher high. This is around 0.029, so it's around 0.024 currently. If it breaks above this area and makes a higher high against Bitcoin for the first time since probably way back here, it's just been lower highs and lower lows for the most part, just downtrending. If it makes this higher high, this would definitely give a lot of confidence to the market that Ethereum is now, it has bottomed. It's probably going to start an uptrend against Bitcoin. And I think the direction would change. And of course, that would lead to Bitcoin dominance then going down further and whatnot. So a lot of it depends on Ethereum. We have to see what Ethereum does. It's up against Bitcoin now since way back here in March. So it's above where it was at the end of March. So it's been about almost 2 months, almost a month and a half, 2 months. It's been up against Bitcoin now, which is not a bad sign, but needs more upside. So it has a little bit more work to do here in general.
Well, I have a question. The recent high that it made right there, right? The most recent. If it gets above that, would you consider that a higher high?
Yeah, or are you only looking if it gets above
no right answer.
0.026?
Because I think that would be.
It would be a good.
It would
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be a higher. It would be a. I would say. I mean, you can make the argument. The reason why I had that level was because on the weekly time frame, that was like the last high. But if you did make a high above this one, because you could make the argument that this was another lower high here. Now we pulled back, but if we break above that high, yeah, I would say that would give like more confidence. But if you want like max or like even more confidence after that, then I think this level would be like the area. Then that would be like the last high from way back here in February. That was so. Reclaiming that level would be pretty good. I want to actually load up some of these SMAs. I just want to see. Hold up. Let me get rid of this one. I use like the 43 and 55. This is currently sitting around 0.032. So maybe by the time Ethereum gets up here, if it does, these SMAs will be around that same level. So it has some confluence. And it's been below these SMAs now since this is May of 2023. So 2 years it's been below these SMAs. It looks like. Or at least the 55. It's been below this for almost 2 years now. So if it reclaims this one, that would be a great sign. It looks like it does have pretty good history overall of like riding it in uptrends and then going down below it in downtrends. So it just has work to do. We're kind of just in limbo with Ethereum right now. I think it might have that catalyst that we've discussed, but we'll have to see if it ends up playing out over the coming months and year or so. See if we get more developments on it.
Yeah, but man, it's feeling the market's feeling to me, and I don't know if it's just my bullish bias. It's feeling like something's percolating behind the scenes in the markets, like they can't hold it any longer. If they have been holding it, like it's ready just to scream beyond what the levels they're trying to suppress it at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is that thing that you're talking about?
What do you mean?
Well, maybe I misheard you. Like there's
I didn't
something
know.
behind
I
the
just
market.
feel like the market's ready to have a very big move is brewing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought you meant like a surprise white swan. That'd be cool.
that would be dope.
that
But
could always happen.
yeah, but I'm super bullish. Well, I mean, I think we covered most of the stuff. Kevin, do you have any other charts you wanted to share before we wrap it? What price point? How about this, Kev and Matt? What price point do you think Bitcoin and Ethereum will be at when we're at the conference?
Well, okay, so
Oh my God, man.
so okay, so right here, if you're looking at the 4-hour measured move, I don't know if they can see it, but this just continuation pattern we've been seeing, if this plays out again, something to remember is that this is a 4-hour chart, right? So each leg up that we got was really only like 3 days or something. So it was only like each time it was like 3 days and we pushed to the next level. And so it's quite possible that by the time the conference comes around, Bitcoin could be at around 115,000. If you just consider, it sounds crazy, right? But all it took was 3 days in even the first one, for each one of these legs up. And if we just get the next measured move in the same exact way, could be 115,000. I'll just go with that for Bitcoin. For
Well, here's
Ethereum,
one of those white-ish swans, and that's just in. President Putin says he's ready to work with Ukraine to achieve peace treaty after discussion with President Trump. So that'd be, I mean, that's so long overdue. If they could sort that out, that'd be super good, just for humanity in general, I think.
yeah, I mean, for Ethereum, I think what I was looking at, I'm not sure if this is valid anymore. Let me see. I think I was just looking at the same. I was just going to do the same thing and just take the steepest part of this flagpole and then put it on the breakout zone, which again, I don't know if it's valid. It could be, maybe not. I guess that takes us up towards like 3,250 or something. If Bitcoin follows this, Ethereum could be at like 3,200 by the time we're at the conference.
That'd be pretty dope. What do you think, Matt?
Man, you give me hard questions, and I'm like, I'm not good at predicting price. I'll answer it, but I'll base it off of your answer to the question I'm going to ask you. How old are you?
I'm 41.
All right, 41 for both.
Yeah, get out of here.
That's my answer. That's my answer.
Yeah, I think we could be somewhere 108 to 114. I think will be, and if not, then I think it might be 88.
I'll take that.
Or
So 141,000 and 141,000 and 4,100 for ETH. There you go.
4,100 for Ethereum.
Yeah,
and then $41 for Doge.
Wow.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be massive. That's obviously a joke,
Yeah.
everybody. But man, I'm feeling good. I'm excited. We all get to go kick it in Vegas. Again, everybody that's tuned in, if you're going to be there, let me know. Drop a comment down in the live chat or down below. We might try and meet up with a bunch of people. I know I'm going to be cooking on one of the days, but we're going to be hanging out. We might do some collab content with some other people out there. I know I'm going to be doing some interviews as well. But super exciting markets. I was talking with Drew about this from Blockchain Basement this morning. Actually, it was DZ. Do you think we're going to be moping around when price is at $280,000 for a month, trading in a range, and we're like, man, the price just isn't moving. It's just sitting at 280,000 or up when
Yeah.
it's at 710,000. Man, it's just sitting here at 710,000. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm so
dude,
impatient.
every single time that's what people do. Like Bitcoin was at 15,000 and then it's at 100 and they're complaining. And if you told people, hey, when we were at 15,000, if you said to people, you're going to complain about Bitcoin's price action above 100, they'd be like, oh, no, I won't. No, I won't. But then they do. Then they
Yeah,
do.
inevitably
Yeah.
they always do. That is absolutely right. Well, on that note, I will say, everybody, make sure you are following these two fine gentlemen right here, Mr. Kevin Svensson, which is at Kevin Svensson _. Always great content. He also has his own Patreon and private community as well in Discord. Make sure you give him a follow. And then, of course, Mr. Matthew Highland, right here at Matthew Highland, 2 T's and an _ Matthew Highland _. Great content he's always putting out. So many people quote his stuff because it's so easy to understand, but always prescient things that are popping off. And he's got his own paid community as well and Discord. And he will, both these gentlemen will be hanging out with us there in Vegas. Make sure you're checking, let's see who's live. Tom Crown's live. So we're going to send to him, but make sure you are checking the different links if you want to sign up for Arculus or get a Bitcoin IRA or trade with us on LBank. All those links are right down in here, and you can join us in our Discover Investments Group Discord, which is in that pinned comment right up here. Also over on Rumble, it's in that pinned comment right there. But that's all we got today, fellas, and everybody else. I'll check in with you guys later. I have to jump right into a call as I'm wrapping this. So I love you guys. Everybody, make sure you hit the like. Make sure you're following both these guys' content. And hold on to your shorts because it's about to get really spicy. I wouldn't rule out a washout before it happens, but things are feeling more bullish than bearish. So follow the trend.
Smash the like button.
Smash it.
Smash
Just
the like.
bam.
Smash the like button.
We love you guys. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next one. Adios, everybody.
See ya.